You know, when the Virginia Tech shootings went down, when this national tragedy occurred, my little brother, shortly after getting over the shock of it, made a bet with me. He said, and this was on the day it happened, how long do you think it'll take until Jack Thompson jumps on his little wagon and tries to blame video games for this? I told him, surely he knows better. I mean, come on. There's no way. And then, even after the videos and the pictures came out where he claimed causes, he started saying why he did this, his reasoning behind it, and some of them were, somewhat understandable reasons, and some of them just were crazy. But I assume that even after that, you wouldn't go around and try to blame video games. Well, after this, I can say, Ethan, your $5 is sitting on the microwave. I will agree with Jack Thompson on something. He has went on a crusade that has said that M-rated games ought to be carded. Anyone that buys an M-rated game ought to have their ID checked, just like for an R-rated movie or anything like that. And in that case, I will agree with him that these games should not be sold to minors and that parents should be watching out for them. But with all these minors that have been getting these games, we obviously can't trust parents. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that all parents let their kids buy violent games, but we can't trust the parents alone to do it, because obviously kids are still getting their hands on this, so we can't all assume that parents know better. I mean, so that would help, having a card thing in place to where the child has to show ID or something like that to get in or to be able to play. They can't just be able to walk in, buy the game, walk out. Otherwise, this violence will influence the children. My one problem with the crusade Jack Thompson has launched, though, is that he just blames video games. And not only are his arguments not completely reliable, he just blames video games. I mean, he can sit there and say that the shooters at Columbine had violent games, Doom, Quake, so on. He can claim that the Virginia Tech shooter might have played Grand Theft Auto or whatever game he's blaming it on, which is one problem I have with his campaign. He hasn't even named a game he's played. He just won't. So that's kind of a reason why I think he's just jumping on a bandwagon in this case. And maybe he's not. I don't know. He probably needs to be a little more clear on what he's saying. However, he doesn't go against music in movies. Does he think that the Columbine shooters just played Doom and that was it? Because I'm sure, and maybe I'm wrong, that they might have had some Insane Clown Posse or some Slipknot, Korn, something like that sitting around, listening to that constantly, over and over again. And maybe that had something to do with it. I'm not saying it did. I'm not saying they even listened to the music to begin with. But there's much more to blame here than just video games. You can blame any violent movies that they've seen. You can blame abusive parenting. And you can blame friends being mean to them. You can blame bullying, which is a matter of fact, one of the reasons they claimed in their journals. That was one of the things that they said was fuel for the fire. And yet you want to sit there and ignore all of that and blame just video games, just Doom, just Quake. No, there's much more to it than that. There is a whole psychological layer here, Jack Thompson, that is being completely ignored, and it's ridiculous. Jack, at some point in time, I hope you understand that that's not the only thing going on here. Video games are not the only cause of what's going on, and that to flesh them out completely, I don't think would solve the problem. Even if you got rid of every video game on the planet, I don't believe that would lower the violence at all. It might a little bit, but movies are still going to play a role. Music is still going to play a role. And they played a role in these shootings. I guarantee it. And yet, go ahead and sit there and claim that getting rid of video games is just going to get rid of it all. The problems of the world are video games. That if we got rid of video games, we're all going to live in this happy, wonderful, utopian society. No, buddy. Not even close. Jack, I don't believe that you're a nutcase or a whack job or that you need murdered or killed or something like that, like all these other gamers claim. And to them, I say that you're only fueling his fire. I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm not trying to say you're idiots, and I'm not saying that at all. But to go around and claim that Jack Thompson is insane and that he needs killed and all of that, that's only supporting his point. That supposedly we are these morons, that we are not smart. That's only supporting his claim. Jack, I'm going to do for you what not a lot of people claim to do. I am going to pray for you. I'm going to pray that hopefully you realize that there is a whole nother level here that you are not addressing, that you are completely ignoring. And I don't know if you're ignoring it on purpose or on accident, or if you're truly ignorant in that sense. And I'm not saying you're ignorant completely, I'm just saying that you're ignoring that. And I pray that someday you'll understand that there's a whole lot more going on here than video games. And I hope that all your followers and all the people that you've convinced this to, the Hillary Clintons and all them people, that they will understand that there is a whole nother level to what is going on here. And for you to just point out one thing and try to destroy that, that's not fair. That's ridiculous. And like I said earlier, maybe you do realize it. Maybe you're just ignoring it and you're on this little campaign to destroy video games. I mean, I would like to sit here and believe that you know better, that you know that there's other aspects going on here. And maybe, though, you don't. Maybe you don't realize what's going on here. Maybe you don't understand that there's a whole nother level to what is going on here. And maybe you are truly ignorant in the sense that you are not acknowledging those, that the thought of other things happening here just is not there. There is a whole nother thing to what is going on in these shootings, to all of these shootings that you claim video games are responsible for. And let me be honest, I own some violent games, and yet I am not a violent person. I think all of my friends can account for that. I might have a strong opinion on things. I mean, you can tell that, obviously. Here I am shooting a video for YouTube that's gone on several minutes now, but yet I'm not a violent person. Violent games do not make a person violent. They do not make people go out and shoot somebody. They do not make killers. They do not do any of that. They do not train people. They do not convince people that going out and shooting someone is right. And for you to claim that, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I cannot possibly fathom how you come up with such reasoning. And of course, I can sit here and claim all kinds of other ridiculous things. I'm just going to touch on this for now. And maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe there's other things I can touch on. I mean, there's several things that Jack Thompson has done that I believe is just completely way out there. I mean, among the argument he had against the game Bully about the death of Kuja on the GameFAQs boards, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I can touch on. But I'm just going to touch on this because this is where he puts most of his power into. This is what most of his campaign is based on. And it is absolutely wrong that he bases only video games on it. And plain and simple, folks, this is what happens when you bring someone that's absolutely ignorant into power. This is what happens when you have someone that doesn't understand the simple, basic psychological aspects of events, and you bring him into power. You give him a powerful position. You give him power over other people. This is what happens. That's all I've got to say about this. That's what I think about Jack Thompson, and you can quote me on that.